Hi guys, my name is Andrew Zeleno. I'm a top-ranked audio engineer and mixing engineer and music producer in my region. I have been working in this industry more than 10 years. I've known as a founder of a mistake in SSL equipment. I have SSLs right there. And right now I'm working with Waves on plugin. Also, I have been teaching 80 students from 9 countries for last 4 years. And my course is considered as something unique. So don't miss that treasure. Of course, sometimes it's difficult to believe that there is something you don't expect to find. But just check this course, trust me. Why this course is unique? Because we have homeworks. I check them online, comparing with the best sounding song in the world mixed by somebody from top 20 audio engineers. And the audio quality of my students is about the same level. It's unbelievable. Also, to give you the opportunity to make sure this is the best course, I don't take any payment in advance and give you the opportunity to attend this course in Skype. And I don't shoot videos like others. I lead you from beginning to the end. So what we're gonna do today? We're gonna check some homework of one of my students. It's awesome practice, right? We're gonna check it. We're gonna compare it with the best sounding song in the world. I always try to challenge myself. He recorded his instruments in one of the best studio in his region. It was Gibson J45 acoustic guitar through the SSL Super Analogue preamplifier. I have this preamplifier right here. And he was using AKG C12, famous awesome microphone. And he was using U87 on vocal, and preamplifier was Neve 1073. AMS Neve is not like all good Neve, but anyway it's one of the best preamplifier. But something wrong with his project. I want to be honest, I just check a little bit his project, but I didn't try to redo it. I'm gonna show you philosophy and approaches. What the most important thing in mixing, it's not techniques, it's understanding approaches. Your audio intuition. Lord-Alge called it reactions. So how you work with sound. It's all about how you understand what your adjustments will do with your mix in advance. We discussed plugins a little bit to make sure that I have the same plugins that he used on this project. As I understood, he sent me some virtual instruments. Never do this. When you work in the music industry, it's kind of a bad sign about the person if he sent for you not prepared project. Always care about the next professional who's gonna work on your project. Mute button is pressed. Maybe this bass guitar should be muted, maybe there is some automation with it or something like that, right? But I don't see any automation with mute button. I think it's just a mistake, because every tracks were in solo. So let's check. There is no reason to have this mute button here.
В ночь я кричу, никто не слышит. Звенит.
It's Russian language, but whatever, you know, it's all music. I really understand that this bass should be switched on. What I'm gonna do next, I'm just gonna compare it with the Santa Monica song. Santa Monica song, it's a theory of a Deadman, and it was mixed by Lord-Alge, the best audio engineer in the world, and I consider Santa Monica song as one of the best songs. One of the best sounding songs. So, you know, it's kind of challenging always compare your work with the best song. But this makes sense. It pushes you to the top.
Her mind's made up, the love is gone. You think someone's trying to show it. Звенит в тихом сумраке струна. When it went past, my bones will break and my heart will дышит. Мой мир догорел с небес.
Here we have pretty great instruments, here we have very great equipment, but something wrong with this song, right? I can't say this is really bad song, right? Try to compare it. And remember, this is the best sounding song in the world. By the way, I'm gonna shoot a new video soon. I'm gonna compare my song I recorded that song in pretty bad home conditions with very cheap instruments, and I'm gonna prove that I can make the sound absolutely on the same level like the best sounding song, Santa Monica. So subscribe to my channel and don't miss that video. Okay, what I can say about this mix, about this part of this mix, right? First thing is drums. Always remember, there is one absolutely awesome thing that I understood only maybe after 7 years of my professional career. It's all about drums. When you work with live music, like rock music, music like this, whatever, jazz, metal, it's all about drums. In spite of that fact that this music based on a guitar, it's all about drums. Just listen to snare drum in Santa Monica song. Lord-Alge, well known as a master of drums, right? It's a sparkle, it's bright, I really can hear this snare, and the snare is kind of a second lead instrument after vocal in Santa Monica song. And we don't have the same snare in our students' song.
If only will last, the moment went past. Угасая еле дышит. My bones will break and my heart won't give. Oh, it. Угасая еле дышит.
Pretty weak, pretty quiet snare, right? We can say we don't hear it, or we don't hear it properly. You can say, show us something, turn knobs, rotate something. When you're professional, it's not about how you adjust your plugins. First of all, it's a philosophy, it's an approach, how you achieve your goals. You need to understand where to go. In YouTube, there is a lot of materials. People don't achieve any good sounding products. They teach people how to turn knobs. First of all, you need to teach people what's the reason of turning that knobs and how the whole system works. So first of all, we already done great thing. We understood what the problem, first problem in this mix. We don't have drums. So let's check drums and let's find out why it's so bad. The main problem is a snare, so let's start from snare. I don't wanna show you solo, how it sounds in solo. Whatever how it sounds in solo, you know? But we can check it just to find out what's going on there. See? It sounds, for example, too roomy, right? Very roomy sounding snare, first of all. Second thing, it's pretty dark. It's pretty low sounding snare. In Lord-Alge's mixes, snares like sparkle, breathing snares, you know, punchy snares, but we don't have anything of that right here. It's SSL 4000 console, but with a EQ. Okay, EQ doesn't work right here, it's bypassed, but we have a compressor right here, it's 4-to-1, it's pretty long release, 400. It's a slow attack, but remember, it's not just slow attack, it's an automatic attack right here. And we have 3 dB of compression. Let's check our snare without this plugin. It's really important to understand that every process that you put on your sound give you something good. Don't believe that every your step, every your movement gives something great. Yeah, there is some great things, but every process gives you something bad. And the art of mixing is putting the most positive things with the smallest amount of negative things. I'm gonna listen to the snare in the mix.
Угасая еле дышит. Мой мир догорел с небес следа.
See? What you see? You don't see nothing. Why? Because I did it absolutely wrong. What a mistake I did. Never compare it like this. Never. Never listen to your song and press bypass, unbypass, bypass, unbypass. It doesn't work. Because every hit works in some part of your song. It can be loud in one part and, for example, you can hear it in the another part. So choose some part and listen to this small part of your song.
Угасая еле дышит, угасая еле дышит, угасая еле дышит, угасая еле дышит.
Okay, it gives our snare just a little bit punch. It's not a really good comparison because it's obvious that snare much quieter when we press bypass right here, but I don't see any problem with this compressor. Second thing is our EQ. It's a Renaissance EQ, pretty old EQ, but it works still great. I see some classic ways to EQ snares right here, but some interesting things. Our student didn't cut a lot of low end. This snare is pretty boomy, pretty low sounding snare. Maybe we need to check and cut a little bit more. Always check how it was before you adjust something. Okay, maybe 70 Hz is okay, but this is not the reason why it sounds bad. Let's go further. Next thing is boosting 200. But look, it's pretty wide. It's wide band, so we boost all low mid. Low mid is what? Is muddiness. See? Our snare is muddy. So let's make it more narrow. Boosting 200 on snare sometimes, especially in rock music, it gives a lot of things. It gives you that low punch, you know, low thump. That sounds very great. So let's keep it, but make it a little bit more narrow. Okay, next thing, I'm still don't hear it. I want to hear bright leading snare. So let's put a little bit of highs on the snare. Okay, and I want to add a little bit presence. I want to add some definition in the snare, so I'm gonna boost just a little bit 4K. Whatever, we can change some frequencies. As you understand, the goal of this video not to remake this mix and show you how it should be done. I'm gonna show you directions where you need to go if you have something bad like this. Okay? Right now I hear the snare, and let's compare it with how our student made it. Okay, so I'm gonna undo all my adjustments right here. Listen to how it was. Okay, I don't want to say I did something great. It's pretty bad sounding snare still. But I can hear it, you know? It's just more open snare, more audible snare. First of all, I think we need to check overheads. Because working with real drums, with acoustic drums, is much more difficult thing than working with, for example, with electronic drums. My students can mix electronic music just easy on a decent level, maybe even on the professional top level. If I give them some live music, not everybody can handle this process. There is microphones, not drums. So if you record your snare drum, it's all about how you blend different mics around this snare. You can have top mic, you can have bottom mic, you need to check phase, you need to check phase with overheads, for instance, and overheads is really important part of snare. You know, I saw a couple of comments on YouTube or a couple of videos where metalheads say about snare something like, "Whoa, I need to cut all snares and kicks in overheads, it's all about cymbals. I need just to get my snare from the snare track, from the snare mic." What Chris Lord-Alge said about this? He said, wrong, wrong. Because your drum sound, it opens up from the distance.
You think I wouldn't notice? Her mind's made up. The love is
Awesome, right? So, let's check our overheads. Whoa! Where is our overheads? I don't hear anything. Maybe it's my problem because I don't understand what's going on in this mix. Because actually I didn't prepare to this video because I want to challenge myself. I don't want to play in game like, whoa, I never saw this mix before. But actually I just check a little bit in this mix, but I don't know what's going on with overheads right here. So let's check. Oh yeah, look at this. Sidechains. Okay, so our track called copy of overhead, it's a chain for what? It's a chain for our overheads gate. If you don't understand what's going on here, we have gate. It doesn't sound at all. So our student made a big mistake. We don't have audible overhead. It was overhead before he put this gate on this track. Let me prove this. It doesn't sound. Our copy of overhead doesn't sound as well, because it doesn't go anywhere, because it doesn't have any bus right there. Let's check what our gate does. Our gain reduction shows us that gate kills all sound of our overhead. I'm just gonna get rid of this gate and let's check what we have in our overhead. So this is the point, you know, I found the biggest mistake in this mix. We just don't have any snare from overheads. We just have our snare from close standing mics. This snare sounds like it was blended, top mic and bottom mic. So let's hear our overheads. See, our student considers himself like he starts to work with sound. He did pretty well, but there is a couple of very strange and very awful mistakes. We don't have almost any snare in this overhead and any kick. It's just cymbals. And our snare sounds to the left. See? Snare sounds to the left. Okay, let's check the EQ right here. Just cutting just a little bit of low end and boosting 100. So the real problem, we don't have decent overhead. Something wrong, or maybe with these drums we don't have our snare and our kick. So what we can expect from these drums? Nothing. So how we work with snare? If you boost on the snare something like 5k like it was before, right? We had some curve like this. Our student just boosted 4k, maybe some 7k, and that's it. Then if you EQ your snare in this way, you need to add some highs from overhead to it. But we don't have any highs of snare in our overheads. Actually, we didn't have even overheads in our mix. Even cymbals in our mix, we didn't have it. That's the key. So you need to put two parts of snare. Briefing highs from overheads, and I mean briefing parts of snare from the overhead mics, and the body of snare from close mics. But we don't have it. That's why I boost highs. I intuitively understood it, and I wanted to boost that highs from the beginning. In this case, what we need to do? We need to redo the whole drums. Because in this case, it just doesn't go anywhere. Let's try to understand if it's good sounding snare at all. First of all, let's check what with reverb here. Look at this send, almost -0 send. And Altiverb 6 was used for it. This reverb doesn't have any pre-delay. So you put all this room just on your snare. If you can give it just 20-30 milliseconds, at least you will have your original transient from snare. But if you put your snare with 0 milliseconds, be prepared that your transient of your snare can disappear because of this reverb. See what kind of a room was chosen for the snare. I just want to mute this reverb and let's compare. This is without reverb. And with reverb. Whoa, it's kind of in the bathroom, not in the ballroom, even in the bathroom. The snare sounds too roomy actually, and pretty cheap sounding snare. Without this reverb, it's just quiet. We can make it louder and it can sound more focused, more present, kind of more defined, you know what I mean? So I think it's very bad reverb, and maybe not bad reverb, but it's too much on this snare. When I listen to the song, I'd better listen to maybe guitars or piano or something like that. I don't want to hear every time some long snare. Tush, tush. So let's make it shorter. You just can't make that tail just smoother fading. It's very audible when you try to cut that tail. So what I've done here, I just cut it like minus 15 decibels, that's it. So when our gate catch that tail, it just goes minus 15, not goes minus infinity, just minus 15. But it gives us the more natural sounding snare, but we can really hear how it becomes shorter. Okay, so this is how it was before. And now I just want to show you how you can bias your attention from snare to other instruments. There is more important instruments than snare in this song. But anyway, it's pretty difficult snare to gate. You know, it's not about mixing. You can just take some shit, right? And put some plugins on it and it's gonna be like candy. It's impossible. It's the same color, but if you put sugar on that shit, if you can make it kind of a beautiful looking shit, right? Maybe somebody want to eat it. But when he bite it, what gonna be next? This is a shitty sounding snare. So we need to change the preset on this drum library or whatever, you know, just make another drum on the snare. I will explain the whole thing about parallel compression on the course. I need that compressor allow our transient pass through, that's why I put 10 milliseconds on attack. Transients is a click of your drum, that punchy thing in the beginning of each hit. So our compressor doesn't take those transients. Then our compressor compresses it a lot, but we don't allow to stop doing it. We keep our tail on the low level pretty long during 600 milliseconds right here on the release. It's pretty pushing compressor or kind of soft limiter right here. And I'm sure you didn't know that, but SSL Master Bus Compressor have different knee for each ratio. For example, 2:1, it's very soft knee compressor. The knee of 4:1 is pretty narrow. Right now I want to put some sample on this drum and let's try it out how it sounds if we blend that sample with our original snare. I feel there is something bad with the phase between these two samples, but whatever. I want to get rid of the sample, whatever how our sample sounds. I want to be able to make great drums from that drum we have. Samples, it's very easy way. Challenge yourself. Try to create something better, at least better than it was before. So let's check our pool. This folder was like 4 gigabytes, you know, 4 gigabytes project. This project, as I see, 44 kilohertz and 32 bit with floating point. From my experience, I don't see any possibility that this project can be 4 gigabyte. And what I see here, I see a lot of tracks we don't use in our project. Erase what our folder is now. Only 2 gigabytes. Never send your project to somebody with 4 gigabytes when it should be 2 gigabytes. Next thing, do you hear where your piano? Piano just to the right. And it's pretty loud. It sounds pretty awful, right? Especially if you try to hear this mix in the headphones. It's very uncomfortable to hear some instruments just from the one side of your headphones. So you need to make this piano, first of all, quieter. It jumps out of the mix, actually. And you need to work with stereo field. See, this panorama, 91% to the right. So what we have here, this is S1 imager. It make our stereo field more narrow. So you shouldn't make it more narrow and then put it to the right. It just doesn't make any sense. When your stereo instrument sounds in stereo, it means that something in left speaker is different from the right speaker. This is what stereo is. It's when your left channel has some differences from the right channel. When you pan your instrument to the right, like in this project, right, 91% to the right, it means that you just cut volume for the left speaker for this piano and leave volume on the right speaker. So there is no reason to have S1 imager. Next thing, it's acoustic guitar. It's pretty awful sounding acoustic guitar. Why? It just have too many transients in it. You know, it just make t t t t t t t. Do you think it's about mixing? No, it's about recording. That's why live music is pretty difficult to mix, because if you done something wrong during recording, sometimes there is any way to fix this problem. So it was 1176 compressor without compressors. It's not fair test, of course, because it's too quiet. If you compress something, prepare your levels. Put your instrument on the right level before compression. Then put your compressor on your track. And then adjust your output, make up gain or output button. You can compare how it was before your compressor and after. You know, 1176 is pretty fast and pretty open compressor. A lot of people think compressor just make your instrument sounding flat in dynamic sense. No, compressor can work like EQ. The compressor can emphasize some ranges in your frequency response. I don't think it's good for our acoustic guitar. First of all, why this guitar has so many transients? It depends on where your microphone was pointed. It seems like it was pointed something like on the 12th fret. So sometimes it's better to direct it a little bit on the body. The great place is when your neck meets your body of your acoustic guitar. It could have fixed this problem. And the last thing is EQ. If we have so bad transients, why we need to boost so many highs and 3K? Maybe we need to undo it. My hard drive was full and I didn't record the last maybe 10 minutes of this video. So I just reshoot it again. And I use my logic. I just want to get rid of that pretty spiky transients. How I've done it here, I'm gonna just show you. I know this EQ pretty well. It's API 550B It's just awesome EQ. Butch Vig said once about this EQ, when you boost highs on this EQ, you hear it. You know, sometimes when you just boost just a little bit on some EQs, you just don't hear it. Here, everything you do is just very audible. It's really easy EQ to use. So I just boost plus 4 dB. I don't want to catch any upper mid-range. All those spiky transients always in the upper mid-range. So I just decided not to boost any upper mid-range in this case. If I boost from 10Ks, as you understand, it's not surgical EQ, it's like shape EQ. So if you boost from 10K, anyway you boost and 8K maybe or something like that, and maybe even 6K. So whatever, I just using my ears, my ability to hear sound, and I just use 12.5K and boost plus 4. That's it. It's awesome. I just want this guitar to shine, but not to be pretty spiky or pretty sharp sounding acoustic guitar. Also, I noticed that I can cut 500 minus 2 dB, but let's keep it like this. Very simple EQ. Also, I decided to kill all those transients with the compressor. Very small attack, and the compressor that is not known for maybe pushing your sound in your face. So I made it the shortest attack and a pretty short release. If you make the shortest release, there can be some pretty bad artifacts. So I just make it like this, pretty fast release and the smallest attack that this compressor allows me. So I'm gonna catch all those spiky transients in the beginning of each chord and make it more smoother. So I can bring my sustain in this guitar, and you can be able to hear sustain, overtones, not only guitar pick, you know, on this guitar. So I compress here only 3 dB. It's enough to catch all those transients.
Мой мир догорел с небес следа.
I just remembered the plugins on the Master Bus. So let's check our Master Bus Compressor. And oh my god, look at this. Attack 0.3. Our student killed all transients of our drums. Drums should be certain sounding. Drums should be punchy, right? Not just like you hit with a pillow on the table. Boom, boom, right? You need to have pretty punchy, very powerful and punchy drums. We don't have too much time today. I don't think we need to go deeper for today. What I can say about vocal, right? Just a little thing. I just think it's too dry. You can make a dry vocal maybe in R&B or something like that. When you have very powerful singer, you need to cover his nuances of his vocal just a little bit more, using reverb, delays, slap delays, harmonizers or whatever. It's a solo guitar. Look at this. First of all, of course, he put some X noise on it. He learned noisy part of his guitar. You kind of make this threshold that depends on frequency response like this, and he just threshold pretty high. I think it kills your guitar. It kills this guitar absolutely. It makes this guitar to sound cheaper. And right now I just want to show you a couple of tricks he did here. It's okay. So first of all, he used this doubler too. The special technique I teach people in the topic called panorama. It's the second month of my course. What he done here, he made from mono guitar like a stereo track. You just take and delay your right channel for the right speaker like from 10 to 20 milliseconds. It's too fast for our brain and our ears. It seems like it's a stereo field. To make it not too wide and jump out from the mix, he made it like minus 28 degrees and 28 degrees for the right channel. It's a great decision and it sounds okay. Look how it was without it. It's too simple, right? This is how it sounds in stereo. It sounds not that simple, that's it. More professional sounding because it's not too simple. Not everybody compress their solo guitars. Here it works perfect. This is without compressor. This guitar doesn't have that thickness. Sometimes jump out of the mix, sometimes it drone in the mix. But with the compressor it's more fat. It's like a, you know, piece of bread with Nutella. You just put Nutella on this bread and it's just like this. Don't forget to check my course. You can't just imagine how deep this course is. I'm sure you've never seen anything like this. I wish you good luck and see you next time, and don't miss new videos.